Hello and welcome back. Nice to see you. I'm just trying out my new mouthpiece. I went down to London last week and decided to treat myself to a new mouthpiece, and I went for a Jolie Jazz 8. I'm loving it, and I'm hoping that whilst I was playing, because you can't really judge the levels on Facebook Live, so I'm hoping that it's just right, it's not peaking too much or grating on your speakers. And yeah, that was Amazing Grace. If you didn't know, it's taken off my latest album, Reflective Notes, so you might want to hear that one again. But I'm looking at this mouthpiece, but you know, that's another block. Anywho, today I sort of messaged out, I think it was yesterday, and I sort of texted out about the course that we're doing on Saturday, this Saturday, called Your Mind is Your Music. And I chose that theme because our mind and what we think about ourselves, what we think about our music, is so important to how we play and how we sound. And I think the question, I was chatting with Novelet actually, Novelet Aldridge, she's coming along on Saturday morning to take the women through our paces on this topic. And she posed a question which she said I should post to you all. She couldn't be here tonight. I'm so sorry she couldn't be here. She got loads of stuff on, but she will be here on Saturday. So let me see. So she posed a question. Have you ever wondered why it is sometimes easier to remember the negative comments more than the positive ones? This is my nice, fantastic flip chart board that I like using, so it's all dog-eared. Just realised I should have used a better one, innit? Anyway, let me repeat the question again. Have you ever wondered why it is sometimes easier to remember the negative comments more than the positive ones? And that's a question for you, and I'd really love you to, you know, answer back in the comments. I've got my trusty assistant there going through my phone and just checking in responses, so please put your comments there. I think this is a really good question, actually. Why it's easy to remember the negative comments more than the positive ones. I think in my experience, I found that to be true. I do recall thinking about the things that go wrong more than the things that go right. If someone says, well, you could just have a bit more reverb, or you could have just put that note in, or you could have just said hi to the crowd, or whatever it is. It's a thing, you know, you go home thinking, oh my gosh, my world's going to fall apart, I'm not going to go back on that stage again, I didn't get it right, oh my God, and all those sorts of things. And we tend to sort of beat ourselves up, don't we? But it's really, really easy to think of the negative comments. Yesterday I went along to see, I'm not going to say who, I saw a friend of mine performing, and she did a good job, really, really did a good job, and she's come on a long ways, a long ways. But at the end of the gig she came over to me, and the first thing she said was, oh, that just went terrible. Oh, I didn't get that note, I didn't get... And I'm looking at her thinking, what's she on? And I'm like, why are you doing that? And she's like, well, that's what I think about. I think about what went wrong. I should have spent more time getting that note right. I should have... And I'm like, wait. We got to think about the things that went well. You know, come on, you got on that stage, you got that band together. You know, when I spoke to you about 3 years ago, you were doing X kind of gigs, now you're doing Y kind of gigs. I mean, come on, you know. And, you know, after a bit of a chat, she kind of thought, oh yeah. And then she said, but I do think negatively. I do always think negatively. Why do I do that? And I said, well, maybe sometimes we get a lot of negative comments. And, you know, sometimes what it's like, if you think back in your own experience, maybe in your home or your work or family or friends, and they're always saying something which is a bit of a put down, you kind of end up putting yourself down. You always think about you're doing it wrong before someone else tells you you're doing it wrong. And I'm sure there's some psychological reason to that, and I know Novelet's going to explain that on Saturday. But that's what we do. We become our own sort of what's the word? Punisher. Almost like that Marvel thing. But no, we all become our own Punisher. Hey, have you seen the Black Panther though? Have you seen Panther? I've seen it twice. Brilliant. Anyway, sorry, deviated. But yeah, we become our own Punisher. We're sort of very negative on ourselves. So it is easier because I think in some way we've been conditioned, or we've allowed ourselves to become conditioned to saying and to recalling the negative comments rather than thinking about the positives. You know, the other day actually I recall that I was only looking at my journal because I keep a gig journal just for that reason. I just sort of write down how things went. And on one particular gig I was thinking about how wrong it went. But when I actually wrote down all the list of things that went right and all the things that went wrong, there were only 2 things that went wrong that I was really magnifying and thinking it was like Mount Everest. And there was about 10 or 12 things that went really, really well, which I was thinking was like pebbles, like sand grains, I mean, the little pebbles. I didn't really think about those positive things. And when I look back in my journal, I thought, wow, girl, you've got to change. So I was able to sort of get myself out of the doldrums. And that's where we go, don't we? You know, when we think about these negative things, we get really down on ourselves, get down on our family, eat more ice cream and chocolate, more fatty foods, drink and other things. Rather than thinking, I'm going to keep myself fit, got to look trim on stage, I ain't going to touch that stuff. We've got to think of the positives. So what's happening on Saturday? Your Mind is Your Music. It's the cafemnee workshop day. I run that twice a year, and it is for women. I'm sorry, guys. I do stuff for women, for men and women, but this time it's for women. And I'd like to say, women, don't think that you're not good enough to come. We're talking about the negatives. Don't think that you've got to get yourself right to come. You've just got to come as you are. There's a bunch of fantastic women. There are going to be some sax players there. There's going to be some vocalists there, singers there. There's going to be some djembe drummers there. There is going to be some keyboard players there. And, you know, you just need to just come and just enjoy yourself. Spend that time, Saturday morning, working through, reflecting on your experience with Novlet. And in the afternoon, after a lovely, scrumptious lunch, we have the music workshop, so you can have a vocal workshop with Louise Dengate, covering the Estelle vocal training technique. Sarah Westwood from Drum Voice will be doing our djembe drummers session. Cynthia Fearon will be doing the keyboard players. I'll be doing the sax players, and have I missed out any other instrument? No, I think that's it. And then we are going to have a jam session all together. And again, please, women, don't think you've got to be this perfect, fantastic singer, player, whatever to come. If you are a songwriter, come, because you can join in the songwriting classes or the keyboard classes, or even just meet up with other musicians who you might want to collaborate with in helping to write your music. If you're a producer, a woman, come along, because you're going to meet other singers and instrumentalists and songwriters who you can collaborate with, and in future they might want to book you to actually record their music. In fact, you might even want to get them in the studio to lay those some tracks for you. So there's something for everyone, and it's there really just to encourage us to sort of work together as women. I'm very big at supporting. I know when I was still am developing in my music, there were some doors that closed, some that opened, some support that happened, some that didn't. But for me, I just want to help women get to their destination and to their greatness in their music. And that's what cafemnee is about. So come along this Saturday, 10 o'clock till 4:30. It's going to be at the New Testament Church of God in Erdington in Birmingham, and accessible by train. Tell you what, if you go into, let me see, I'll put it in the description later, but you can pay by Eventbrite, you can pay by PayPal, cash, debit card. But the address I'll be putting into the description box. If you go over to my website, millicentstephenson.com, and if you look on the cafemnee tab, March 2018, you'll see all the details there as well. And once I finish this video, you can play it back again and get that. Oh, I should tell you how much it's going to cost. Well, it's now £30. Early bird finished last week, and on the day it's £35. And I tell you what, it's good value for money, because the women who come along go away really empowered. Many of them have decided to pick up different instruments. Some are going to open mic sessions, some are setting up their own gigs, some are writing and collaborating. It's just really, really good fun. What else are we doing on the day? Oh yeah, there'll be a time to reflect, and there'll be time to pray as well. I do believe in prayer. I'm a Christian, and it's a Christian-based organisation, but I tell you what, there are women who come who are not Christians, and so please come along and join in the time of reflection. And at the time of prayer, you don't have to participate. It's just a couple of sentences, but it's just good to really centre yourself. And I believe that music is a very spiritual occasion, very, very spiritual thing. And that's why I said cafemnee as well. It's just to bring that other side of us into our music. Anyway, my trusty assistants, have I missed anything out? Missed anything? Yeah? Oh, sorry, do you want to say something?
Just read some comments in.
Oh, sorry, some comments. Me chatting away. Go on.
Someone says, "Hi sis, I love your accent."
Where's she from? Who's that?
Kim Jenkins.
Kim Jenkins. Hi. Hi, Kim. Hi.
We've had someone say, "Turn negative comments into positive comments. Find what don't work and flip it."
Ah, now let's stick a pin right there. I like that one. I like that one. flipping that negative comment. A bit like a pancake, you know, when you do pancakes, you got one side, and then you've got to flip it over to cook the other side. I think that's right. It's about how can you improve it for the next time. What can you do differently to make it better? And see it as a learning curve. That's what I've chose to do nowadays, is to see it as a learning curve. I mean, I was playing at a funeral today, and I was playing a couple of songs, and I did a couple of things. I'm thinking, I don't know if I like that, but change it around for next time. Change it around like we change our wardrobe, change our hair, change our clothes. Change it around. Love that comment. Thanks. Who put that down?
That was... Oops. Vachelle Rodney.
Vachelle. Hey, Vachelle. Thank you so much for that. Wonderful. Any other comments?
We've also had someone say, it seems like they don't appreciate it.
What do they mean by don't appreciate it? What do you mean by don't... Who's that? Who's that? If you can just message a little bit more what they mean by don't appreciate it. Let me see. Don't appreciate it. Don't appreciate it.
The audience don't appreciate it.
The audience don't appreciate it. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it's like the last time I did the Facebook Live, I mentioned I thought the audience didn't like, or members of the audience didn't like what I was doing, and that made me trip up in my playing, and then that became a negative performance for me. I suppose if the audience don't like it, I mean, obviously back in the day they'd throw rotten eggs and tomatoes. And if you're at one of those shows that, you know, the sweeper will come and sweep out. We don't really have that. To be honest, a lot of people just appreciate what you do. Just getting on stage is like a mega step, mega jolt in your experience just to do it. I mean, you think about it, you're sitting at home and you're thinking, I've got to play, I've got to sing, and you've got to go on stage. I mean, I think audiences do appreciate it. And if it's not their cup of tea, I don't think they'd be sitting there listening, to be honest. So, I don't know. But thanks for that. Maybe it's that. That's just a comment. Yeah. Any other comments?
Someone said, see you on Saturday.
Who's that?
Cheryl Richards.
Hi, Cheryl! Cheryl, see you on Saturday. Hey, go over to Cheryl Richards' Facebook page. She's written a really good book called My Hair Curls for Kids. It's really good. And Michelle, I should actually go back, is a producer. I know she's coming on Saturday, and she's actually done some really good stuff, so it's worth checking out their pages too. What else is there? Anyone else?
At the moment, that person wrote back, he said, they don't appreciate your effort that you put into the practice, the audience, I mean.
Okay, I think, how do you know they don't appreciate your effort? It's kind of unless they say, I don't like what you're doing, and that effort was like, what's that? You really don't know that they don't appreciate your effort. I think the very fact that they applaud is that they do appreciate your effort, and sometimes we think they don't, but I think we shouldn't think that. I think, let's do what, I think it was Kim you said about flipping it. Was it Kim who said about
it was Vachelle.
Vachelle said about flipping it. I think that's what we need to do. Oh, okay, they didn't appreciate it. But then, should you be, here's another question, should you be performing for the audience? Should you be performing for yourself? Should you be performing for your producer or your label? Or, you know, that's an interesting comment. It's probably worthy of another Facebook Live. But partly it's that. I think to some extent you do. This is my answer. If you've got a different answer, again, put it in the comments and let me hear. To some extent you do perform for your audience, and you do hope they like what you do. You do want to get it right. But, you know, to a bigger level, you've got to do it for yourself. I was in the recording studio last Wednesday laying down a really good track, and I'd love to tell you about it, but I can't. It's all I will say, it's an interesting take on, I could say the title of the track, couldn't I? Without saying, what do you think, Mike? Title of the track? Yes, no? Okay, I was doing a, should I tell it? Okay, I was, sorry, I was laying down a really interesting version of Take Me to the King, Tamela Mann's track written by Kirk Franklin. That's it, Kirk Franklin. And that's all I can say about it. That track for me is going to be busted. I just love it, love it, love it. And I was down there in London. I'm not going to tell you who the producer was, because if I tell you who the producer was, you're going to kind of get a hint of how the track's done. So I'm not going to do that. But when I was laying down the track, I said to him, oh, well, you know, we put a few takes down, and I said, well, I did it, I kept a little bit of So-So's version, and I kept a little bit of Tamella's version, and I thought, does that work? And he said, yeah, it's nice, but I just want you to do your version. I want you to just bring you, just do you. I'm like, yeah, that's fine, I can do that. I'll tell you what, I did that, I had the greatest fun. So in that situation where you're working in a studio, you're working a producer, working a band, you can get that immediate feedback if they don't like it. And sometimes not they don't like it. Like he said, I like that, but can you do X? And that's kind of different to the audience saying, I do not like what you do at all. Go away. They're not saying that. So, yeah. Anyone I need to say hello to? We've mentioned some names already. Anyone else needs it? And while she's scrolling through, thank you for turning up. I'm about to finish. But thank you so much for tuning in. Sorry? I don't know what that sign is. I can't read. Pass me that. Oh, right. Yes, thank you. And what was the other hand sign? Should I play my sign? I'm going to play out. I can play out here. So, just to say, Saturday, your mind is your music. How you think, women and guys, about yourself and about your music goes into your playing. But on Saturday, this Saturday, on the 3rd of March, 10 to 4:30 in Erdington, Birmingham, UK, it's a one-day workshop for women only called My Cafemnee. Let's start again. My Women in Music Project Cafemnee. Novel Aldred will be helping us through getting over, well, sort of dealing with our nerves, bringing our strength to our music, just getting over those hurdles, like getting away of us being the biggest, baddest player, singer, producer, songwriter, dancer we can be. So she'll be doing all of that. We're going to have a great lunch, we're going to have time to reflect, we're going to have time to pray, and in the afternoon we've got a vocal workshop with Louise Dengate, using the style vocal technique. Sarah Westwood, Djembe drums is coming in. Cynthia Fearon doing keyboards. Actually, Cheryl will be helping Cynthia in the jam sessions. Just remember that. I'll be doing the saxes, and yeah, I think that's in the workshops. It's going to be great. £30. Well, you know, that's kind of cheap. It's kind of good. And £35 on the door. And love to see you there. Everyone is welcome. It is a Christian-based organisation, but hey, all faith, no faith, you are invited. And we already have women who have no faith or other faiths who come along and get a lot for their music. So I'll put more in the description at the end. If you can't wait, you can scroll through the feed of my Facebook page here, and you will see information on the day. In terms of payment, there's an Eventbrite link for Your Mind is Your Music. You can pay on PayPal, just to info@millicentstephenson.com. And if you want to pay straight into the bank account, I can send you the bank details. And if you want to pay by credit card, I can send you my phone number, and you can call and we can pay by card. And yeah, I'm just trying to think. I did have a card about. What did I? Yeah. Oh yeah. I just remembered one other thing. I'm gonna wrap up now. I didn't plan to be on too long now. Just one other point. In terms of my experience, when I was setting up my Not Just Jazz show 5 years ago, when I did my very first one, I did think negatively about it. I decided after many years of waiting to be signed and not getting signed, and obviously the industry's all changed now, and it's all about self-labels and DIY and everything. But back in the day, I was waiting to be signed, and I did have some invitations. I decided to set up my own show, called Not Just Jazz. And I got my flyers out, booked the venue, got the band, all the kind of things that you do. And a couple of months to the date, I began to get nervous. I was really thinking, are people going to buy tickets? Are they going to do this? Are they really going to... And I was nervous. But you know what? It was a sellout. People bought tickets, and then there was a waiting list. And I was shocked. And 5 years later, I am still doing Not Just Jazz, and the next one's going to be in July. So I'm a testimony. Can I get a witness? I'm a testimony that if you get your mind right, it's going to affect your music fantastically. And also, praise Jesus.
Amen.
And also, focus more on the positives rather than negatives. And it might be worth just writing a list of all those negatives, writing a list of all the positives. Usually harder to think about your positives, but you've got to force yourself. And by doing that, you'll move yourself forward. If not, you will move yourself backwards and off the stage and into obscurity. And I know you don't want that. I know you don't want that. Anyway, less of me. I think we can do a track to finish, unless there's any further comments or anything I need to say.
We've had a few comments in.
Okay. Sure. Why do you read that? Let me get this.
I'll be there,
Who's that?
says Michelle.
Okay, Michelle. See you Saturday. Yeah.
Now I'm curious.
Who's that?
That was Sun.
Okay, now she's curious. Okay.
Well, I think it was about the
He or
album.
she. Okay.
Always Be Yourself.
Who's that?
That was Michelle again.
Yeah, be yourself.
And Thanks Angel, says Catherine.
Oh.
Catherine Che.
Che, is it C-H?
C-H-E.
Che, T-Che. Depends if there's an accent or not an accent. Thank you so much, Catherine, for tuning in. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to just play out. I'm thinking about do Bridge on Troubled Waters. No? Anything else? Tell me what you want. Nothing? Just go for it. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to do a little bit of Bridge Over Troubled Waters, and then my trusty assistant will sign me off. But thank you so much. This will be back on replay. And when it is, please share. Get it out to as many women and men. I know it's a Women's Day, but bring it out to the men because the men know the women. Just share it out there. It's here to just help and support and to build more women in the music industry, because certainly in the UK there is not enough women in our music industry nationally, and I think the same internationally. So let's see if this will... a little bit louder. The other fade, I did one that's not that one.